Ladies and gentlemen, let's Red Gaming Tech.com video. We actually have confirmation from Microsoft on an Xbox One CPU speed increase. That's right, the Xbox One's CPU speed is actually faster than what we initially thought. So if it's not 1.6 GHz, is it 1.9 GHz? No. The actual answer lies somewhere in between. We are looking at 1.75 GHz. That's 150 megahertz faster than initially thought by using the beta hardware. Now that was announced by Yusuf Merai, and he is the Corporate Vice President of Marketing and Strategy for Microsoft's interactive entertainment business, and that's a large-ass mouthful to say. Anyway, he said, and I quote, "We're on track for launch in November. We'll announce a launch date shortly. We recently just went into full production, so we're now producing en masse Xbox One consoles. We've had a real good progress on the system. In fact, we've just updated the CPU performance to 1.75 GHz on top of the graphics performance improvements. So the system is really going to shine. The game looks incredible." And quote for a moment, "So I'm sure many of you will remember the saga of the Xbox One's GPU. For a long ass time, everyone thought, well, you know what, it's running at 800 megahertz. Exactly the same as the PlayStation 4, of course. The difference is Microsoft were really happy with the temperatures apparently and the power usage of the GPU units inside the APU. And so what they did, they decided to increase the clock speed, and they increased it to 853 megahertz rather than 800. That's about 6.62%. This, of course, meant that the performance went from about 1.24 to about 1.31, 1.32 T-flops. It's not exactly going to set the world alight, but hey, games developers are not going to be upset about the free performance, right? In the case of the CPU, you're looking at about 9.3, 9.4% increase. So once again, just to reiterate, 1.6 to 1.75. Not a bad jump, right? To carry on his quote, "This is a time where we've gone from the theory of how hardware works, what do we think the yields are going to look like in the thermal envelope, how do we think things have come up together, or really having them in our hands." And this is what Mark Whitten said. "That's the time when you start tweaking the knobs. Either your theory is right dead on, or they're a little too conservative, or you're a little too aggressive. It's actually been really good news for us, and we managed to tweak the GPU clock speeds up to 800 to 853. And of course, that was when he was initially speaking about the GPU clock speed increase. So we could pretty much reiterate this exactly the same thing for the CPU, which is really good news. Now, what is pretty interesting to note is that back when AMD Jaguar was first unveiled to the world, when AMD were first showing off and various tech websites were actually getting to check it out and speak to the developers of the hardware, they said a 25% increase in performance. So in other words, if it was to go from about 1.6 to about 2 gigahertz, it would increase the power usage, power consumption in other words, by a rather large, if you consider it, 66% increase. So obviously Microsoft are really happy with their own numbers. They've obviously done a lot of internal testing and said, well, you know what, we're really happy with this. We feel that the system's cool enough. We feel that we're well within the power usage requirements that's necessary. So we're going to definitely increase the clock speed. So, there's also been a slew of information recently revealed about both machines' audio capabilities. There's also been a lot of news regarding the ESRAM. And although it sounds a little bit of a cop-out, I'm going to have to do those analyses in a different video, because it's really late here and I'm not even supposed to be putting this video out. I should be, let's just say, leaving the door right now to go to work, unfortunately. Yeah, I know it's a pain in the ass, guys, I'm sorry. But unfortunately, I need to, pay rent and so on, so there you have it. But I will be doing some analysis on this later. For Microsoft, 150%, that would be very impressive. 150 megahertz increase in clock speed equals not shabby at all. I'm not unhappy with it. I have to say that I think it's pretty damn decent increase in CPU clock speed. It's going to definitely make a difference in certain areas. Remember, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, the Xbox One has one deficit to the PlayStation 4, and that is the GPU. And so that naturally evolves into a compute deficit. So it'll be very interesting, I think, at the start anyway, for the engines which are more CPU heavy, and there are definitely engines out there which are CPU heavy. Evolutions, for example, of the Source engine, just for example, happen to be really, well, CPU heavy. It just happens to be how it is, and there are certainly other ones as well. It depends really what you do with the game, how you're coding it, and so on. Games are becoming a lot more multi-threaded, but it's possible that we're going to see the CPUs of the Xbox One making up some of the ground of the improved compute of the GPU. Remember as well, it's not like the Xbox One's GPU cannot do compute. But of course, as they say, it's very early, and I'm certainly not going to be doing super graphical comparisons or analysis yet on hardware that's not even available properly. But what I will be doing is I'm going to be speaking about what I think is going to be the future of the CPU clock speeds and so on of the PlayStation 4, hopefully later on today and tomorrow, depending. I have a ridiculous amount of tech stuff to go through over the next couple of days, and hopefully you guys will be there along with me. So this has been a quickie news video. Unfortunately, I have to edit and then, well, pretty much leave for work. So as I lament my own fate, I will hopefully see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.